Congressman Phil Rowe of Tennessee. He knows a little something about health care. He's been a doctor for more than 3 decades. It's great to have you both here. Congressman, let me first ask you for an update on the progress of talks where your caucus is headed, where Congress is headed, in negotiations over Obamacare and resolving the shutdown as best you know at this hour.
Well, Lou, we'll meet again in the morning at 10 o'clock, and certainly I want to thank the Capitol Hill Police today for what the job they did. They did a phenomenal job here. I know that was your lead story, but I personally want to thank them for the job they did to protect the public in Capitol Hill. We passed, as you know today, to fully fund or to fund the Guard and Reserves, and also yesterday the national parks to fund our veterans to take care of their benefits. But right now I heard Senator Reid say he was not going to negotiate at all on the CR, on the continuing resolution, nor would the President. And I heard the Secretary of Treasury just make a great case in your lead-in segment for negotiations. So we're ready today to negotiate. We have our people ready, and we're absolutely prepared to go do that right now.
Let me ask you, I just reported the President's disapproval rating is up to 50%. His approval rating in the most recent Gallup tracking poll down to 44%. This is going to come down to whether or not the American people support either Congress or the President on the issue of Obamacare, on the issue of being rational, reasonable, and fair. And we're hearing a number of stories, and I'm going to style it that way, that your caucus is divided. Do you have the strength of leadership and the solidarity of your caucus to persevere in this contest of pure political will?
I believe we do. And look, Lou, we know that we have a huge debt problem, and hopefully we'll get in with Betsy on the Affordable Care Act. And I'd like to have the opportunity on this. Okay, well, good. I hope we have the opportunity for me to explain some of the things that we did in 20 years in Tennessee.
So we will have that time, but we're going to have to do it succinctly. Let me ask you, Betsy, go ahead.
Yes, well, what I wanted to say is that few Americans actually have heard how little the House is asking for in return for this stopgap spending measure. They are only asking for 2 things, Lou. One, to end the illegal subsidy that the President weaseled for members of Congress.
A 1-year deferral of the individual mandate.
No, that's the second thing. But let me make it clear. They are not saying that people can't have Obamacare. They're saying anybody can sign up on the exchanges, anybody who's eligible can get Medicaid. They're not stopping Obamacare. They're just saying if you don't want it, you don't have to pay a penalty.
And the second is fairness in the removal of the subsidies for the Congress, the staff, and that of the White House.
That's right, because the law says, Section 1312, that members of Congress have to enroll in Obamacare. If it's good enough for them, if it's good enough for the public, it's good enough for them. And they're supposed to pay for it. If it's affordable for us, it's affordable for them.
So, Congressman, I have to ask you.
That's a small amount to ask for.
We have to ask, why in the world then has Speaker Boehner been persisting in negotiations to get that subsidy sustained, and which he realized? I mean, this looks really bad for your leadership.
I think probably what was going on was that people didn't, and Betsy nailed it right out of the park. She's succinctly said exactly that. But the position we have right now is, as she stated, those are the only 2 things we're asking for right now in the negotiation to continue the CR for 2 more weeks to get to the more important issue, which is the debt ceiling.
Well, I want you to respond, though, to what I said about the Speaker negotiating behind closed doors to sustain those subsidies while all the while the caucus talked fairness. Have you resolved that issue?
I think that's absolutely resolved. Okay. As a matter of fact, I know it is. I know the position the Speaker has right now, and his position is exactly as Betsy stated.
So, as the deferral for 1 year for the individual mandate,
but not for the rest of Obamacare. Anybody who wants Obamacare can have it.
You do have to let me finish, if you don't mind.
Sorry.
We have limited time. And also fairness. That is, bringing everyone into the same world, at least as far as American territory is concerned.
Correct.
You all are sitting here talking to a president who says he's not going to negotiate. You're talking with a president and a Treasury Secretary who has said that all hell will break loose on October 17th if you don't resolve things. I will say to you as a matter of fact that there will be no default on October 17th. I don't understand why in the world your caucus isn't saying out loud and clearly you're representing those people, the majority of the Americans in this country, who absolutely do not want Obamacare. Why can't you say that? Why can't you say out loud, as your speaker has just done today, that there's not going to be a default, and if there were to be one, it'd be the choice of the President of the United States?
Well, so most people understand, look, we have money coming in every day to the U.S. government and money going out. And there's enough money easily. We're talking about less than 10% of the money to service the debt. So it's ridiculous when you're talking about default on the debt. If it happens, Lou, you're absolutely right. It will be the President of the United States that makes that decision to default on the debt, not the U.S. Congress.
And the idea that where we began with all of this, Betsy, was defunding Obamacare. The Republicans have sort of, it seems to me, stumbled into a position that is both rational, it is smart as a stratagem politically, and has the convenient, I think, additional aspect of putting the Republicans on the right side of history on this issue. How do you see it going forward? Well,
first of all, I think they just have to communicate very clearly, and that's the important point that you made with the congressman.
The one thing they haven't done at all.
They have not done that at all. When Speaker Boehner goes to the mic and says it's about fairness, but doesn't spell out what's currently unfair.
You've chosen the one word that he uttered that I could have just applauded when he did it.
Yes.
Finally using a word that was what people want to hear. Why is it, Congressman, you Republicans have such a heck of a time relating to human beings, the American people, and citizens, even when you're right on the issues? I mean, good Lord. Help us out here.
Well, Lou, I think I did relate pretty well. I got 76% of the vote in my district last time.
I didn't say you. I said you all, and you're from Tennessee, and you know what that expression means.
I certainly do. No, you're right. We do need to do a better job of communicating our position, and it is a very fair and reasonable position right now that we have, and all we're asking for. Let me give you an example. This the VA benefit that we talked about today, that appropriations is sitting on Harry Reid's desk right now. All he has to do is bring it up. It would be voice voted out, and you would not have any of these problems. That appropriation's been already passed, but it's not going anywhere. And I think that the fairness issue is absolutely correct. If you're going to treat big corporations one way, then you should treat individuals exactly the same way. I think that is fair.
You know, from your lips to God's ears, if the Republicans can understand that what you just said is the key to their success in 2014, we might have an interesting kind of race next year.